Husband lost his job, my family urges me towards divorce, and now I fake gifts to avoid their judgment. My husband, let's call him Nate, and I have been together for 10 years, married for 4 years. We've been having a rough couple of years and basically everyone I am close to is telling me to get divorced. Nate and I have known each other since we were 14 and 15. We were best friends first and basically inseparable and started dating near the end of high school. As far as our relationship, everything was great. He treated me amazingly, always with the most respect, going out on dates frequently, buying each other gifts, many vacations together, etc. When we first got engaged things were a bit rough, but we spent many nights having long discussions and worked through those issues. However, over the last couple of years we've been having a hard time. Nate lost his job in 2022 and I think this set us on a collision course. Ever since then he's had a hard time keeping a job. He frequently goes to temp agencies for in-between periods, but this has never been a problem for me as he tries his best to make sure bills are paid. He always blames the jobs, but I have a hard time believing he's been through about 15 jobs since 2022 and every single one is the problem. Maybe some of them, but not all of them. Anytime I try to talk about it he tells me not worry and he always find a new job, so I've tried to stay out of it and let him figure it out. As a result of this though, we rarely ever go out anymore. I could pay for us to go out myself, but he has expressed to me before that it makes him feel bad that I'm always paying. We celebrate our birthdays and anniversary and that's it. I've genuinely been okay with this because I understand that we are going through something, but my family tends to make me feel bad. I'm very close with my family and they love to insert their opinions even when it's not asked. They love to comment on how he never gets me any gifts anymore, he doesn't compliment me as much, and doesn't really show up to family gatherings anymore. So much so that I've resulted in just lying about things I've bought for myself like books, jewelry, electronics, etc., telling them he got them for me just to get them to shut up. If he doesn't come to something where the whole family is there, I just tell them he's at work. The divorce comments started coming in last year when I had car trouble. I have an older car, 2010, and my engine went out last year. I still had about 4 months left on my loan and interest rates were insane, so I couldn't afford to get a new car with having to also take care of so much of the bills at home. I tried talking to a few different mechanics, but I couldn't work out any payment plans, and honestly the lowest estimate I got was $9,000 to fix everything that was wrong with it, so this seemed like a lost cause. I ended up getting my dad's help for a new car. He put down $5,000 to help me get a new car and this shook my family. The main question being, why didn't Nate help? I wasn't about to flat out tell them he couldn't afford it, so I did my best to dodge the questions, but it didn't matter, the damage was done. Now anytime they could squeeze it and they're telling me I need to divorce him. Over the past year I've been able to get Nate back at family gatherings, but they've all ended with him being super drunk. Nate doesn't know when to stop. I know this about him. I try my best to cut him off, but I'm his wife, not his babysitter. I've asked him over and over again to not drink at these functions, or if he must, to only have one. To which he tells me it's fine, he's an adult and knows when to stop. He doesn't. This has resulted in a lot of embarrassing nights for me and just adds to their list of reasons to leave him. My family has never seen a healthy marriage. I have never seen a healthy marriage. At least not outside of a TV show. Any of my family that's married, they're all bitter and cheating on each other. I can't really take advice from this. I believe you don't get into a marriage just to jump ship as soon as things get hard. We are just going through something and we have to work on it together. However, recently I've started questioning this and I'm not sure if this is the right stance here. My cousin passed away recently and her funeral was this past week. I was and still am devastated. Nate doesn't understand why. My cousin and I weren't on speaking terms and he doesn't get why I would be so upset since we weren't even talking. At the funeral he sat with me, but he didn't speak the entire time we were there, not even to comfort me. I have no idea who he was that day, but this was not the man I married. It was like having rose-colored glasses taken off and now I'm questioning everything. Now I'm starting to feel like my family may have been right all along and I've been too naive to see it. I can't go to any of them about it because I already know what they're going to say. I feel very alone right now. Where do I even go from here? Update 1. Nate was a mixture of fired and quit from jobs. He was usually fired for attendance. The reasons of not going being having headaches or feeling sick. This was truly unrelated to drinking. If he quit, it was various reasons, but the main reason being having some type of issues with management. 2. The drinking started in March of this year and it is not daily, not even weekly. However, my main issue is getting blackout drunk when he does drink. This is not exclusive to family gatherings, but the embarrassing things usually happen in these cases. Embarrassing being the way he speaks to me. We discussed it many times and it's always met with resistance. I have definitely been in denial of this being an issue and the overwhelming comments have removed that denial. I mentioned it in the comments of my original post, but I have alcoholics in my family, but they drink daily and morning to night and he doesn't, so I thought I was being paranoid about this issue. I don't think this had anything to do with losing jobs but was picked up as a result of it. 3. Many people said I don't defend him to my family and this is why he doesn't come to gatherings. I didn't talk about it in my original post, but I have defended him. They never say this in front of him, only to me. They don't treat him differently or isolate him or anything like that. I don't just let them talk crap, but this usually results in us talking in circles and me feeling like crap. No, I have never told him what they are saying. 4. I am in therapy solo, but it's new, so we hadn't gotten into my marriage at the time. This was honestly eating away at me since the funeral, and my next session was 2 weeks away at the time, which is what led to my post. I do think he's struggling mentally, but I'm accepting it's only so much I can do if he's constantly insisting he's fine. Someone asked if he's of sound mind. Why don't I believe him when he says he's fine? I've dealt with depression and did not realize until I was out of it and reflected back on that period of time. Maybe it's projecting, but he may think it's fine, but it's not. 5. Many people asked what he's doing to fix things. I guess the simple answer is nothing. We have conversations about our marriage where he promises to do better, and he does do better for a while, and then he just stops. Now for the update. I ended up turning my therapy session into a 2-hour session, double copay, yay America. We deep dived into my marriage, and I actually told her about my original post and some of the comments that stuck with me. Obviously one long session is not a fix-all, but it definitely helped me come to some realizations. A couple of comments we focused on. Me lying for him, for starters. In the beginning I truly did not have a problem with not going on dates or getting gifts or even just the little things. But of course over time that kind of chipped away. I guess about the time I started lying about it is when I stopped being okay with it. Someone said my marriage not working out does not mean I failed. Honestly, this broke me. Out of all the comments, this one really got me. I have felt like if I gave up this would be a failure. I didn't get married to get divorced. I thought I would be spending forever with him, and I've definitely been trying to keep floating a sinking ship. Therapist says I'm a people pleaser, and honestly after everything we've talked about, yay, that tracks. As for Nate, he's on thin ice with his current job, go figure. Even knowing this, he still did not go to work one day last week because he had a headache. No, this was not a hangover. He was not drinking that day before. I'm 100% positive of that. I start work 2 hours before him, so I didn't know he stayed home until I got home. I snapped. I told him he doesn't get to skip out on work every time he has a headache, especially when he is already on multiple attendance warnings. I get frequent migraines and I don't skip work unless it's literally one that makes me super dizzy. I take something for it and get to work because we're adults with responsibilities and can't just skip work every single time we feel bad. He told me I was overreacting, and I told him of course he would see it that way because I sit back and let him do whatever he wants all the time. Maybe I did overreact. Maybe he did have a bad headache. Either way, I left to my sister's house to cool off. I broke down at this point, crying to her and telling her everything. To my surprise, although it shouldn't have been a surprise at all, you guys were right. They all knew something I didn't. My brother and sister have secretly been giving him money to take me on dates for my birthday and our anniversary ever since him first losing his job. My sister even paid his portion for 2 family vacations we took. I wasn't going to go on either of these vacations because I couldn't afford to pay for both of us, but my sister said she could tell how sad I was about it. They both knew how badly I was trying to make it work and were trying to help. I called my brother and made him come over too. I thought they would give me "I told you so's" or rub salt in the wound, but they were very supportive. I ended up staying with my sister a couple nights and returning home Friday night. I told Nate we needed to have a serious conversation. I laid out everything I was feeling. I cried and begged him to go to therapy. If not to couples therapy, at least to go solo. He refused. He says therapy is a waste of time and money, just paying someone to talk to you. He says we don't need anyone in our business like that and we can deal ourselves. I told him obviously we can't, and having an outside unbiased opinion may help us understand each other better and be good for our future. He refused. He really doesn't see how all of this is affecting me. I did get him to open up the slightest bit about what's going on in his head. In short, he thinks the world owes him something. When he first lost his job, he went to his parents for help. They refused to help, which honestly I'm not sure what he thought would happen because they've never been good to him or me for that matter. He was going on and on about how his dad left his mom for half his life before they got back together and he needed to make up for it. I told him he's not a child anymore, he's an adult, his parents don't owe him anything. To which he said it's the least they could do. We barely even touched the money/bills topic as usual, as this led to yelling and things were getting heated. I addressed him taking money from my siblings to pay for dates/vacations and he said why does it matter where the money came from, you wanted to go out and I made it happen. He doesn't think there is an issue with this at all. He told me all I care about is money, his love and loyalty is never enough. This really hurt me because it's like everything was slipping through my fingers before my eyes. In trying to be a good wife and supportive partner, I completely missed so many signs and lost myself. We are separating for now. I was going to let him stay in our house, but I changed my mind. I honestly don't trust him to keep up any of the bills or cleaning. We rent our house and the lease is not up until May, so I'll be staying there and taking care of everything as usual. He's staying with family for now. I still didn't jump straight to divorce as I'm trying to get through to him, but I can see now this may be where it's headed and I'm unpacking all that in therapy, trust me. Despite all of that, I still love him very much and wish things were different. I'm hoping the separation inspires change, but I did give him until our lease is up to show me with actions. Honestly, with his track record, I'm not holding my breath, but it's tearing a hole in my chest just thinking about filing for divorce, and well, that's another issue for therapy. Update 2. I thought the hardest part would be the first night without him, but it turns out the quiet is a liar. It pretends to be kind and then it starts picking at you. I did the dishes, wiped the counters, sat on the floor and pulled our wedding photo out from behind the microwave where it had been living like a hostage. I cried like I was trying to wring water out of my bones, and then I put it away in the hall closet behind old towels. I fell asleep on the couch with the TV on mute and woke up to my phone yelling at me. Fraud alert, new account in my name, welcome, Capital One. With a limit that made my stomach flip. I don't have a Capital One card. I thought it was a scam email until I went into the app and saw my credit score had face planted. There it was. Opened in May. Charges that looked like someone had swallowed my bank account and burped, DraftKings, FanDuel, DoorDash at 2 a.m., Uber rides to one of the bars I've asked him not to go to since March. I sat on hold for 40 minutes and froze everything I could freeze. The woman asked if I recognized the applicants. I said it's me on paper and not me in real life. I hung up and stared at the wall until I realized I was late for work. He texted at 11:14 like nothing happened. Can I swing by to grab my PS5 and some clothes? I called him. I told him about the card. Silence, then this tiny annoyed sigh like I just asked him to take out the trash. I was going to pay it. Relax, things got tight and I did what I had to do. I asked him where he got my SSN and he said, we file taxes together, what are you even talking about? Stop acting brand new. He swore he only put groceries and a couple bets on it, and that I was being dramatic. Then he said the line that made something in me go cold, you wanted to go out and I made it happen, right? Why does it matter where it came from? I told him he could get his console at 6 p.m. with my brother there. He showed up at 3 anyway, banging like the door owed him money. My neighbor peeked out. I didn't open it. You're making me look crazy, he yelled, and all I could think was, you're doing a great job of that alone. He left, came back at 5 with his cousin, and I let them in because my brother was already inside. He tried to take my vacuum. I said no. He tried to take the air fryer. I said no. He said they were marital property like he just learned a new term that morning and couldn't wait to use it. My brother put his hand on his shoulder and he finally grabbed the PS5 and a tote of clothes and slammed the door so hard the frame rattled. That night he Venmo requested me $75 with the note appointment deposit. He sent a screenshot of a confirmation page for a men's performance coach. I asked if it was a therapist. He said it was better, because it was results driven. The guy's picture was him in a tight polo pointing at a whiteboard with hold frame written on it. I stared at it until my eyes hurt and told him I wasn't paying for that. He sent back a paragraph about how I don't support him trying to be better and I put my phone face down and let it buzz like a trapped wasp. I told my mom the truth. No more he's at work, no more he got me this necklace. I sat at her kitchen table and said the words out loud and watched her mouth twist like she'd bitten a lemon. She held my hand and then she broke too and blurted out that she and my dad have been paying his phone bill on and off because he asked and we didn't want to embarrass you. I didn't even know where to put that in my head. 10 years with someone and you're still finding out what everyone else has quietly been carrying for you. I pulled my credit report and it was like stepping on glass. 2 store cards I never opened, both with small limits and both maxed on nothing I own. He had them sent to his parents' address. I wonder if they thought it was me. I went to the bank in person on my lunch break and sat with a guy who had a kind face. He walked me through closing our joint account and moving my direct deposit, and when he asked if I was safe at home, I said yes and felt weirdly proud of the fact that I meant it. He lost the job. I didn't even have to ask. His thin ice finally cracked and he fell right through. I found out because HR left a voicemail on our landline that I never use about his benefits ending, and then an hour later he posted a screenshot to his story of a text from his manager with I quit this toxic place lol. I don't know which way it actually went and I don't think it matters anymore. Saturday was my cousin's memorial potluck at her best friend's house. I parked 2 blocks away so I could sit in the car and cry without anybody seeing my face. When I walked in, her friend hugged me for so long I had to put my plate down on top of a stack of napkins. She told me my cousin had been planning a road trip for us for this summer. She pulled out a little spiral notebook with gas station names and rest stops and dumb attractions circled in glitter pen. There was a page where she'd written my name like 50 times in different hearts. I went into the bathroom and sat on the edge of the tub and cried quietly into a towel until my jaw ached. Something shifted. I don't know. Grief and anger live in the same room sometimes. He showed up to the memorial. Nobody invited him. He came in like he was looking for a fight and then immediately tried to be charming. He hugged my aunt and told her she looked smokin' for her age, and then grabbed a beer and knocked it back in 2 minutes. I was in the yard with my cousins when he stumbled out and told me we needed to talk like adults. I said no. He followed me to the driveway and started in about how this separation was cute but he was moving back in because half that rent is mine. My uncle stepped between us in that soft way older men do when they don't want to scare anybody. Nate puffed up like a pigeon, got in my uncle's face, and then he saw my brother watching from the porch and deflated. He slammed the beer into the trash and it missed and rolled under a car. He left. I opened my phone later and there were 20 texts ranging from I love you, please don't give up on us to you're a cold-hearted bee, like your mom. I turned my phone off for the night and slept at my sister's with her snoring pit bull pinning my legs. Monday morning there was a knock on my door. Process server. I thought for a second he'd somehow filed first, but it was a notice about a payday loan in my name from last fall, defaulted. I sat on the floor with the yellow envelope in my lap and laughed this weird, hiccupy laugh that scared me. Then I got up, went to work, and made an appointment with a lawyer on my lunch break. I didn't think I'd actually do it, even as I was dialing. I sat in a conference room with a plant and a bowl of butterscotch candies and asked a stranger how you dismantle a marriage without tearing yourself in half. She explained what a legal separation would look like, what a divorce would look like, how to protect myself now. She drew a little diagram on a legal pad that made it all seem less like drowning and more like walking across a very thin bridge. That night he texted that he'd gotten help. He sent a selfie of him in a church basement holding a styrofoam coffee cup, smirking. See, he wrote, AA. I didn't know if it was a joke. I asked how it went and he said it was fine and a bunch of losers whining about their wives. The next day he told me he wasn't going back because he wasn't like them and doesn't even drink like that. Then he asked if he could come over to shower because his aunt's hot water was messed up, and I told him no. He said, "You're really going to do me like this?" And I said, "I'm really going to do me like this." I hung up and cried and then I didn't. 2 mornings later my sister texted me a screenshot from a Facebook group we both hate follow because we're nosy. Him selling my KitchenAid mixer for $80 with pickup only and our old address as the pickup spot. I took a half day, went home, and the mixer was still on my counter, thank God. I put it in my trunk, drove it to my sister's, and asked her to keep it for me. I started walking through the house, touching things. Wedding china we never used, a dumb souvenir magnet from a beach we barely remember. The sweater he used to wear in winter that I loved. There is so much you don't realize you can put in a box until you start packing. I don't know if it was the credit stuff or the memorial or the mixer, but the thing that finally broke me was small. He texted to ask if I could remind him of his online banking password. He said he forgot because I always handled that. I stared at the blue bubble and felt this wave of tired like I could drown in it. I typed back, "No," and then, "I'm done." He sent a thumbs up and then, "Wow." Then nothing for hours. It was almost peaceful. I signed the retainer with the lawyer. I told her about the lease in May and she said we'll work around it. I'll file for legal separation first because it's cleaner with the lease and the accounts and because the idea of the big word makes my chest tighten, but the papers are drafted for both. I had to type his full name on a line that said respondent and mine on a line that said petitioner and I had to sit there and look at it for a while because the words were saying out loud what my mouth hasn't wanted to. He called me tonight and for the first time in months he sounded like the boy I met at 15. He cried. He said he's scared. He said he doesn't know how to fix himself and he wants me to tell him what to do. I told him I can't. I told him there is a list of things that would have to happen, and that even then I don't know if I'll be able to unsee everything, and I don't think it's fair to keep saying maybe to both of us. He asked if I still love him. I told him I do. He said, "Then why are you doing this?" I said, "Because I also love me." I hung up, put my phone in a drawer, and made myself dinner. I ate it at the table with the lights on. The quiet felt different. Not kind exactly, but honest. Update 3. I didn't know a room could smell like tired until I sat at the precinct under those buzzing lights with a pen on a chain and a stack of forms that kept sliding across the plastic. The officer wrote domestic identity theft in a box with a steady hand like it was a phrase he used 10 times a day. I handed over screenshots with my name and not my life on them. He asked if I knew the person. I said yes and the word felt like chewing a penny. The landlord sent a handyman to rekey the deadbolt. He was one of those guys who talks to fill air. Told me he changes locks for breakups, for evictions, for guys who forget they don't live here anymore. He held the old cylinder in his palm like a loose tooth and said, "Fresh start," and it was silly and it helped anyway. The IRS sent a letter that said we received 2 returns using your SSN in a font that made my stomach go cold. I took the morning off and sat in a waiting room with a fake ficus and a TV playing a loop about phishing scams. The woman at the window gave me a temporary pin like a bandage for a wound I can't see. I signed my name 3 times and it looked less like mine every time. He found out about the accounts being shut and called me from a number I didn't know. He asked if I was seriously doing this in the same tone he uses when I don't buy his favorite cereal. I said yes. He said he was trying. He sent a selfie of himself in a different church basement holding a white chip like it was a receipt. Then he sent a screenshot of a calendar invite from the performance coach. The subject line was masculine mastery. I stared at it until I started laughing and then I cried because I don't recognize any of this language around the boy who used to save me the marshmallows from his Lucky Charms. He showed up at my work. He was in the lobby in a wrinkled t-shirt, palms out, doing this soft voice he uses when he wants something. He said, "I just want 5 minutes," and I could feel every eye at the security desk tilt toward me like a plant toward the sun. I told him we could talk through the lawyer. He said, "So it's like that now," and security stepped closer and it was like watching a scene I wasn't in. My boss asked me later if I needed the day and I said no and then I threw up in the bathroom because my body disagreed. The next morning I went to the courthouse with a folder and a highlighter like I was going to a meeting. I took off my shoes at the metal detector and put my keys in a gray bin and tried not to cry because sobbing barefoot in public is a special kind of vulnerable. I wrote everything down in the little lines they give you. I wrote about the credit in the lobby and the banging on my door. I didn't write that I still sleep on one side of the bed because I don't know where that belongs. The judge looked at me over readers and asked 2 questions and then signed a thing with a blue pen that made my hand shake. Temporary protective order. It fit in my purse like a brick. The process server found him at his aunt's. He called me 20 minutes later, spitting. "You got me served at my family's house?" Like there's a polite way to do any of this. He posted something online about paperwork warriors and fake charges and then texted me, "I'll always love you," right after, like he could play both sides of the same coin in one breath. My sister came over and we packed a box together, not a big one, just the things I didn't want to leave behind if someone with sticky hands got bold. The mixer was already at her place. We wrapped the wedding china we never used in old t-shirts and I kept waiting to feel something cracking in me and it didn't. It felt like checking a window twice before you go to sleep. He tried again 2 nights later. The doorbell in that frantic way, the kind that says pretend you're not home. My phone lit up with unknown numbers like a slot machine. Then pounding. Then a voice, sweet and mean all at once, "I just want to talk." The neighbor's porch light blinked on and I called the non-emergency number with the calmest voice I've ever used and said my name and the case number and the words protective order like I was testing a new tooth. 2 cops came, one young and one older with knees that cracked going up the stairs. They asked if I was okay and I said yes, again, and this time it felt true. He was still in the yard when they pulled up. He tried humor. He tried charm. He tried hard. They told him to leave. He did, walking backwards for a second like he wanted to memorize the house. After they left I brushed my teeth just to have something rote to do with my mouth. I took off my ring for good, not the dramatic toss into the ocean way, just in my quiet kitchen on a Tuesday afternoon while the dishwasher hummed. There's a pale band on my finger like a ghost. I put the ring in a little velvet box and drove to the bank and rented a safe deposit box because apparently I am the kind of person now who keeps important things in small metal drawers behind 2 locks. I put the ring in there and my cousin's road trip notebook and the retainer agreement like they were the same category of object, expensive, fragile, impossible to throw away yet. I had a day where I couldn't breathe in my house. The walls felt like they were leaning. I grabbed the notebook and my keys and drove an hour to the first thing she circled in glitter pen. It's a diner shaped like a giant coffee pot off the highway. I sat at the counter next to a man in a high-vis vest eating a turkey club at 10 a.m. The waitress called me baby and put extra butter on my pancakes without asking. There were old pictures of people who loved each other on the wall and a clock that ticked loud enough to make you notice your heartbeat. I left a note for my cousin under the sugar caddy. Just, "I'm here. I'll go to the next one. I love you," and a smiley face like we used to draw in middle school when we thought everything was still going to be funny forever. On the drive back I sang to the radio and forgot to be self-conscious at a red light, and when I glanced left, the woman in the next car smiled at me like it was contagious. The lawyer filed the separation. She sent me copies that came with digital confetti like a joke from the software and I hated that I laughed. He tried to dodge the second service and then eventually there was a picture of the papers on the hood of a maroon sedan and a timestamp and a man's hand I don't know holding the documents like a fish. He called me later and said he wants conditions if we're going to do this, and I said the only conditions are the ones on the paper and that if he wants to talk about conditions he should do it through someone with a bar number. He said I sounded cold. I told him I'm learning how not to burn. He put up a profile on a dating app. It said entrepreneur and stand on business and looking for my peace. My cousin's best friend sent me a screenshot with the kind of face you make when someone drops a glass. His pictures looked like he learned angles from a podcast. I didn't feel jealousy. I felt sorry for the women who don't know what door he's going to bang on when he feels something he can't name. I met with a credit counselor who had a bowl of peppermints and the kind of voice you want reading you bedtime stories. She had me write down my debts and draw little lines between mine and his and the one that's in between that says we. She said it would take time and I didn't cry because for once that sounded like a promise and not a threat. He got picked up for driving on a suspended license. I found out because his cousin texted me, "You see this?" with a link to the county booking site like it was football scores. I sat on my couch and stared at his last mugshot and tried to match it with the boy who used to take a marker to my hand and draw a heart so I'd see it at lunch and think of him. I didn't bail him out. I put my phone on Do Not Disturb and ran a bath and read a chapter of a book I've been meaning to start for 2 years. The water went cold and I still didn't get out. I don't know how to wrap this up because nothing is wrapped up. The lease is still May. The order is still temporary. The money is still a mess. I still forget and then remember, like walking into the kitchen to get something and standing there with your hand on the fridge door with no idea why. But the quiet feels less like a liar now. It's not kind, exactly. It doesn't have to be. It's mine. I ate leftover pancakes over the sink and then I sat down at the table like a person and paid a bill and didn't clench my jaw. My phone sat face down and behaved. For 10 minutes, nothing needed me. For 10 minutes, I let it stay that way.